Yisrael b'Mitzrayim Hayu Bali Lashon Hara. Klal Yisrael was in Mitzrayim, they weren't Bali Lashon Hara. I wish I had the Medrash, it's missing, but the Medrash says, to me it's a bit astonishing, because the Medrash says that there were 3 things, or maybe 4 things that Klal Yisrael did in Mitzrayim that caused for them the Geula. Leishinu, remember? Leishinu Shmam, so they were still called, I wish I had them in. They were still called, what? Lo Nikra, the Medrash says something like Lo Nikra L'Ruvain Lulianus. Lo Nikra L'Shimon Mantel. As the Medrash has a list of Egyptian names, it says that the Jews kept their Jewish names, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, they were called as all that. So Leishinu es Shmam, Leishinu es Levusha, their Levusha was saying, Leishinu es Lashonam. So Leishinu es Lashonam, everybody understands that what? That they still they continued to speak Jewish, whatever that was. They spoke Mesopotamian, they spoke Turkish, whatever Rabbi spoke. I don't know what he spoke. Probably Aramaic of some sort, right? Yigar Sahadusa, that was the lashon of Yaakov Avinu. Yigar Sahadusa, so that was Aramaic, an Aramaic lashon that he spoke with Lavan Ha'arami. So that's how what the Medrash says. The Medrash says, Lashidu es Lashonam Loihilshin Ze al Ze. So the Medrash says that Lashonam, we say Lashon Hara, we all know what Lashon Hara means too well, right? Lashon Hara means to talk about the next guy. That's how the Medrash says. The Medrash says that like Dibru Lashon Hara, they didn't speak Lashon Hara. That's Loshinu es Lashonam. They kept the Masorah amongst themselves from Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov not to speak Lashon Hara. What would have been the Lashon Hara that they would have spoken? Says the Medrash that at the beginning, when Moshe Rabbeinu was still standing by the Sneh, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him in the big nevuah, that was the big nevuah of everything. Whoa. I'd just love to read you this inside. Who says you're not supposed to have an iPhone? Rav Huna Amar b'Shem Bar Kapara b'Shvil Daled Dvarim Nigalu Yisrael Mitzrayim Shleishinu es Shmam v'es L'Shoinam v'lei Amr Lashon Hara v'lei Nimsa b'neim Echad mehem Parutz ba'erva Leishinu es Shemam Ruvain v'Shimon Nechtin Ruvain v'Shimon Salkin. They came into Mitzrayim as Ruvain v'Shimon. They left Mitzrayim as Ruvain v'Shimon. Not so, let's say, with Galus America, who has the same name, or for that matter, even the Tanoim. Where do we get names like Avtalion and Alexander? We changed, our names changed to accommodate society that we're in. Not in Ruvain v'Shimon Nachtin, Ruvain v'Shimon Salkin. Lehayu Karen Yehuda Rupa. They didn't call Yehuda Rupa, which I guess is the Egyptian name for Yehuda. Below Ruvain Giuliani. Below Yosef, I'm just reading. Below Yosef Lasatis. Below Binyamin Alexandri. Those would have been the Egyptian equivalences. Loshinu es Lashonam. What does it mean, Loshinu es Lashonam? So he says, according to this opinion, that they spoke Lashon HaKodesh. The Gam, that's how you get to 4 and 3, the Medrash says the different numbers. Like Amru Lashon Hara. What was the Lashon Hara? Shenamar Daber na ba'oznei ha'am. Hashem said to Moshe, Daber na ba'oznei ha'am. When? When did he say that?
The snap.
By the snap. Sure? Shmos Yud Aleph. Daber na ba'oznei ha'am. Atamotse shahaya hadavar mufkad etzon kol yud beis chodesh. From the time of the Shlit'a until the time of the Yetziah was 12 months. 12 months earlier, by the Shlit'a, Hashem said to Moshe, Daber Nabazam, whisper into the ears of the people of Israel that before they leave, they should, or during the next 12 months for that matter, borrow as much as you can from the Egyptians, and then you're going to leave with that stuff and take it home. Now, where the ethics of this is out of the scope of this conversation, but the simple shot is that the Egyptians had taken all of their stuff over the last 70, 80 years. They'd taken everything. Jews weren't allowed to have stuff. So they took their kli kesef and they took their kli zav. You're a slave. Give it to me. Masha kona evet kona rabbi. They took everything. So they needed to take it. Not only that, the rechush that we came in with, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, his rechush, and then Yosef, hu abashbir l'chol eretz Mitzrayim. The Jews were very wealthy people, and they were impoverished. Like today, you find like the Nazis took $4 billion art collection from the Jews. They're finding. So the Hashem's chap over here was go around for a year and borrow back the kli kesef and kli zav. And the people, why would they lend a bunch of slaves kli kesef and kli zav? Because Hashem made a miracle that there will be a chain of Yisrael, bang name Mitzrayim, and they're going to actually lend you the stuff. And then v'yatsa misham b'rechush gadol. Then you'll be makayim the nevuah of Avram Avinu b'bris vein absarim that you're going to go out, you're going to have Yetzias Mitzrayim, you're going to have a lot of stuff. And what are you going to do with that gold and silver? You're going to build a mishkan, you're going to build an egel, you're going to have a lot of money. So the point is this. The point is that Moshe Rabbeinu Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu to tell the Ziknei Ha'am and the Am this at the beginning of the Yetziah when he first came to Mitzrayim. So for 12 months they were doing this. And then at the end he said, okay, it's time to go. Gather all of that stuff together. Says the Medrash that in Shmos Yud Aleph, Daber Naba Zayam Atamoitz Shaya Daber Mufkarat Son Kol Yud Beis Chodesh. I think, by the way, Daber Naba Zayam is, you want to look it up? You have a chumash? Daber Naba Zayam is actually later. Now he told the people, take the stuff out with you. Atamotze, doesn't make a difference. Atamotze Shaya Daber Mufkarat Son Kol Yud Beis Chodesh. So for 12 months they were holding the secret. Lo Hilshin Echad Al Chaverai. Nobody spoke about the other one. V'lainimsa Echad Mehen. Okay. What does it mean? It means that it would have been easy, sort of like the evil thing to do would have been to say to the Egyptian, don't lend him. What are you, stupid? Don't lend him. You're never going to get it back. That was the Lashon Hara that we're talking about. We're not talking Lashon Hara that they didn't talk Lashon Hara. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But what they didn't do, what the Medrash says, a new taich of Lashon Hara. This is not the Chavetz Chaim's Lashon Hara. The new taich of Lashon Hara is that they didn't speak to the Egyptians and say, this is a bad guy, don't lend him money, you're never going to get it back. He has no intention of giving you back that teapot, I'm telling you. If they would have done that, so for 12 months, can you imagine this? Jews. For 12 months straight, they didn't say anything. It would have been a good thing to do. They would have endeared themselves to the Mitzrayim. They would have become more popular, more honest. They would have. This is the Malshina Maltese Sikva.
They all had the interest in not saying anything.
Okay, still. You get more credibility when you knock the other ones.
How's it, Chris?
That's what we do.
Unfortunately true.
Yeah, this is at the end of the Yetziah. The end of the Yetziah, he says, where is it? Yeah. This was at the end of Choshech. And he says, I have one more makkah to bring, which is Makkah's B'chayros. Right after that, you're out of here. This is the second time that this came up, because it came up, or Hashem already said, to tell this to, Hashem already said this to Moshe Rabbeinu at the Shlit'a. So there was two tzivuyim. So from here, the Gemara Pesachim says also, we learned that there was no gilui of this side. So it's really gilui side Lashon Hara. It's a much more, Lashon Hara in this context is a very, like malshinim, or malshin. you're speaking about the other one in a very bad way. So it says that's what the Medrash says. So we didn't speak Lashon Hara, so therefore what? It says Rav Tzadok v'Yisrael b'Mitzrayim lo hayu bali Lashon Hara k'mo she'amru Chazal, like we just learned this Chazal. Bal yedei zeh zachu livnos koimas hakneses Yisrael liyos'u mashlema v'goy echad b'leiv echad. Now, we learned earlier that there are many terms for the Bnei Yisrael. There's Bnei Yisrael, refers to the sons of Yaakov, Klal Yisrael, and every once in a while, Knesses Yisrael. And Knesses Yisrael means Kishmai Kenhu, that there's a Knesset. I don't know if the Knesset is Kishmo Kenhu, but a Knesset is the pshat that everyone comes together. That's what a Knesset is, like a Knesiyah, l'shem Shemayim, a Kenes. So a Knesset means this is a place where everyone is together. At Matan Torah, we needed not to be Bnei Yisrael, and not to be Klal Yisrael, we needed to be Knesses Yisrael. Because in order to have the Torah, you needed to have the Hashras HaShechina. In order to have the Hashras HaShechina, there had to be Vayichan Yisrael Neged Hahar. We had to be Kol Yisha Echad B'leiv Echad. Why? Why? Remember, we learned. Why was it so important that we have this Achdus? It wasn't just like an Achdus, Achdus, like we're all brothers. That's not what it means. No. What it means is that in order for Malchus to happen, in order for the Shekhinah to be sure in Klal Yisrael, everything has to be used to its full potential. So the only way that I can be mashlim myself to my full potential is if I use your kochos. Take a look. A Kohen Levi Yisrael. That's how you have Kriyas HaTorah. I need a Kohen. I need a Kohen to bless me. I need a Levi to wash my hands if I'm a Kohen. I need a Levi to sing, to make some spirit here. And I need a Yisrael, because you need a Klal Yisrael. So it's the Achdus is not just like we get along and we're all brothers. It's recognizing the fact that everybody has something to contribute into this big pot. Here's what I say under every chuppah. To the point that people don't even listen, they know what I'm going to say under. So every chuppah is that B'Shem Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, that everything in the human condition, Chazal say, importance is on the right. Importance is always on the right. Lev chacham liyamin. You put your right shoe on before your left shoe on. You put your tefillin on your left hand so that you could wrap it with your right. The right is more yamin. Yamin Hashem oisachayil. Yamin Hashem ramema. The yamin is very, very important. Everything is the right. Lulav Esrog, everything's the right. So, Rector Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, so why the most important part of your body, the heart, is on the left? Kasha. So he says that because, I love to do this, I love the theatrics, but I always tell the Chassan and Kala, stop looking at me, look at each other for a second. Where's your heart? The other one's right. Where's your heart? The other one's right. So the Jew who says your heart is for yourself. If your heart is for yourself, so it's on your left. If my heart's for you, look, where's my heart? It's on your right? So the pshat is that the ultimate echad of Klal Yisrael is, it doesn't even make sense that I'm an island for myself. It only works when there's an echad between us. So there's this is the concept of Knesses Yisrael. Unless everything is utilized in this world, unless you have Knesses Yisrael, then you don't have Malchus. If you don't have Malchus, you can't have Hashras HaShechina. The rim around the wheel. You have to have this Knesses Yisrael. If there's going to be Hilshinu Zeh al Zeh, if everyone's Mitzrayim is out to get the others, if it's a dog eat dog situation, don't lend him your pot because you're never going to get it back. So then there's a disconnect between me and you, and if there's a disconnect between us, how am I utilizing your kochos? How's my lave there for you when I'm being balshid of you? So we're understanding Lashon Hara on the deepest level. It's not like a shmuz at Lashon Hara. Lashon Hara on the deepest level this is what separates people. And if people are separated, then they're not connected. And if they're not connected, so then there's no way that we're working as a team and we're utilizing each other's kochos. So like you happen to have a good memory, and you have a good sharp analytical mind, and you have a good void. I'm pointing. I'm just saying, somebody else is very athletic, and so okay, the whole thing together, you get one goof. Nobody's meant to be shalom all by themselves, and this is why we get married. This is why we join Klal Yisrael, we join Kehillas. So this was necessary. So the prerequisite for Matan Torah was that we didn't speak Lashon Hara. That was the prerequisite for Asheras HaShechina.
It's interesting that we couldn't have that unless we were in Galus. We could not have that unless we were in the melting pot, and that pot that was giving us all
Rabbi
this.
Eliezer is saying, you see from this week's parsha, the brothers hated each other. Where was the echad when we were selling Yosef down the river? Where was the echad? So the golus was part of the design. It was a kapara for that, simply put. Do you know, by the way, just because you mentioned it, like the end of the Bayis Sheni, fast forward, long time, generations and generations. The end of the Bayis Sheni 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years later, 1,000 years after this. So we're told that there was a nevuah of the Gedolei Hadar, that there has to be Shivnat Tzadik. Shmuel HaKohen. Shmuel HaKohen. The Gemara says that Shmuel HaKohen that he was a little bit less than Shmuel HaGadol. Or Shmuel Aleph, Shmuel Beis, this is Shmuel Gimel. It was like a Navi in the time of the Bayis Sheni when there were no Naviim. And he said, Baruch HaKodesh, just the Gemara's proof, by the way, that there was still Ruach HaKodesh in those days. The Gemara brings a proof to that in Sanhedrin Yud Beis. Says that Shmuel HaKohen said that there's going to be Asara Arugei Malchus. It's going to be Rabbi Kiva, and it's going to be Chaveirov and Hanani ben Trajan. He named it, actually. He named the Asara Arugei Malchus before there was even a problem with the Romans. We weren't even at any kind of war with the Romans. We were just living there. We were living in Eretz Yisrael. The Romans were taking over the world from the Greeks. There was a beginning of a Roman occupation. Everything was friendly. And he said the Romans, there's going to be 10 martyrs. And he named the 10 martyrs. Rabbi Kiva, by the way, like Rabbi Kiva, if you make the cheshbon when this was done, Rabbi Kiva just became frum. I mean, it wasn't even... and they went and they told them. Koy Amar Shmuel HaKohen, the Gemara says. Rabbi Kiva just became a Talmud Chacham. Don't forget, by the way, that you're going to die al Kiddush Hashem. You're going to be killed by the Romans. Mr. Koy Shel Barzil. Which is why Rabbi Kiva, when he was put to death, said, Kol Yomai nitzdarti al pasuk zeh v'haftos Hashem l'kecha b'chol levavcha b'chol nafshecha b'chol b'decha masai yavei liyadi v'akayman. My whole life I'm waiting for this. What was he waiting for it his whole life? What kind of masochistic thing is that? Because he had a nevuah. He heard a nevuah from Shmuel HaKohen that he's going to be one of the Asar Arugei Malchus. That's why Kol Yomai nitzdarti on this pasuk. Extremely important. What was the Asar Arugei Malchus? Say Chazal, the Medrash say Chazal that Yishmael Kohen Gadol went to Shemayim and he had his own nevuah. That was like heavy stuff. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him that the chet of the Ache Yosef has not yet been eradicated from the Jewish people, and therefore you are going to be the final kapara. What does it mean? I have no idea what it means, but what does it mean a little bit that we can understand that? Why was the Beis HaMikdash, the Bayis Sheni, destroyed? Because of Sinas Chinam. It wasn't because of Avodah Zarah, Gila Raya, Shrichas, like the Bayis Rishon. It was Sinas Chinam. Where does Sinas Chinam, what's the makar of Sinas Chinam? The Ache Yosef. So what the nevuah was, we need to understand was that these Asara Arugei Malchus, which the Arizal goes so far as to say that they were actually Gilgulim of each one was a Gilgul of the brothers of Yosef, and then Yosef himself was a Gilgul. But each one of these were the Pnei Hadar having to do the kapara for the sinas chinam. Why? Because the sinas chinam was repeating itself. Here, Jewish disease, Jewish illness. Once there's sinas chinam, so what? There's sinas chinam. Okay, it's a chasarn. But why is it such a chasarn? It's a chasarn because it splits the people. And if you split the people, so then we are no longer utilizing each other's kochos. There's no more echad. And if we're not utilizing each other's kochos, there can't be Malchus. Malchus is like an army. Once an army splits into two, let alone 5,000 or 10,000, what's the army? Everyone's fighting in a different direction. The whole point of an army is you're the cook, you're the machinist, you're manning the tanks, and you're flying the planes. The whole point of the army is the unity of the army. Otherwise, you have Syria. You can't have the one thing, and it's interesting, like here in this country, everything is ununified except for the army. Because everybody understands, Adkan, we can argue at some point, we got to get together.
Tragedy gives us purpose.
Yeah, we're going to all shoot each other. This can't work without unity. It's like an interesting miracle, I think. Even in 48, like an interesting miracle of unity that you have here amongst Jews in Israel, based on politicians. Somehow there's unity there, right? It's like a miracle of miracles. Bigger than crazy absolute. It's like a pella. So Shapella. But the Teretz is that's the taich, that's the definition of Malchus. There is no other definition of Malchus. So you had to have the same type of Malchus by Matan Torah, and you had to have the same kind of Malchus B'chlal to have a Beis HaMikdash. So that's why the Beis HaMikdash was because Beis HaMikdash Hashras Hashchina. There's no so without that Malchus you have no reason to have a Beis HaMikdash. Comes the Romans and they destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. And the Asar Arogei Malchus were all connected to the same Sinas Chinam. It was all one point, and the point is that here you're the Gedolei Hadar, you're Kamsa Bar Kamsa, Chorba Yerushalayim, Shloimichu. Here you're the Gedolei Hadar, and the Gedolei Hadar, how is it possible that there's Sinas Chinam? The answer is that the Kapara isn't there. It's still with us. There's no Malchus, can't have a Beis HaMikdash, and it becomes, I think the union of Lashon Hara and Sinas Chinam, because we hear about it so much, becomes trite. What we need to understand is that it's not just a good idea. It's like the Atzmius of Klal Yisrael is totally, just at a real level, at a very real level. It means that I'm looking at somebody else, and you're looking at me, and you're saying, how are we going together, do something for the Malchus Hashem? Impossible to do yourself. Yoshev Pad Bavad can't, like an avoda to do every single day. How can we do this as a group? It's an amazingly difficult exercise because groups can drive you crazy. So you just another meeting and another meeting. But how do we do it as a group? So that's what he's telling us. Al Yidei Zeh Zachu Livnais Knesses HaKnesses Yisrael. That's how we got to the point, not of Bnei Yisrael, not of Klal Yisrael, but Knesses Yisrael. Lios Uma Shlema, V'goy Echad, Belev Echad. Every drop of every aspect of Achdus was there with us, and we were Zochah to Matan Torah. So here's the Chiddush for the day. Why did we have Matan Torah? Because we didn't talk about each other in Mitzrayim when we were borrowing Kli Kesef and Kli Zav. We cooperated. That's where Matan Torah comes from. Who knew? V'zehu, take it a step further. V'zehu, this is the pshat in the pasuk. The zarach miseir lamai. That's in V'zos HaBracha. V'zarach miseir lamai. So that's Moshe Rabbeinu describing in his prophetic poetry the giving of the Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu was describing giving the Torah, and he said that the Shechina shined to us, or at us, Miseir Lamai, from the mountains of Esav. We worked this out, Saudi Arabia. On the right side, all the way on the east, is Mount Seir. Har Sinai is in the middle, Mitzrayim is over there. We came to Har Sinai, the Shechina Didn't come from Eretz Yisrael, which you would have thought it would have come. It didn't come from the north. I don't know how they knew this. Moshe Rabbeinu told us this. But the Shlit'a, you should know, Klal Yisrael, was Zarach, shined at us from the Har of Esa. What? So the Gemara says, Ad Kedei Kach, asks Moshe Rabbeinu, Shchina be'Esa, by Koi. What was the Shechina doing with Asa? Okay, so another thing that we learn as children, we need to relearn as adults. Hashem went around to all of the nations of the world and offered them the Torah. They said, what does it say? That they said, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we don't want it. Here I am giving you the Torah. We look at it as, I'm going to say something very radical though. We look at it as like some kind of a little God having fun with the nations of the world, right? Like, you want the Torah, Yishmael? Well, what is it saying? It says you can't steal. We don't want. We can't. We steal. You know, we kill. We commit adultery. We like doing that. A way of shtoching, a humorous way of shtoching the Umas Ha'olam. Here's my radical statement. This was a serious attempt. Listen to me. HaKadosh Baruch Hu went around to the nations of the world offering the Torah. He would have given them the Torah. Why should we get the Torah? Does it say anywhere that we should get the Torah? Did Hashem say to Avram Avinu that the Jews are going to get the Torah? I'm asking you. It says that you're going to have children and children's children. You're going to go. I'm going to take you into Eretz Yisrael. Lech lecha al aretz harsher areka. You're going to yarsh. You're going to be like a koch ve'ashamayim and koch aretz, and you're going to come into Eretz Yisrael. Where's the Torah? The Torah going to be given to Yishmael. Okay, Ramas, or like Kol Savdun Oisi Alahar, as Rashi says, that at the Snah, Hashem said you're going to come back and you're going to be over me. That's not entire, maybe. A Ramas, a Nevuah that at the end we're going to get the Torah. It's not part and parcel to the Jewish people have the Torah.
Oh, okay.
I always said this is not shaking you up that you're not listening. It's not necessarily so that we should have the Torah.
Like the beginning of the
Very good. Ola, what's it going to do with us? Give it to the Bnei Yishmael. Maybe it'd be better with the Bnei Yishmael. If the Bnei Yishmael have the Torah, they've got a big crowd. They got a big guy. Look, we have a few million people. They have a few 100 million people. Give it to the Christians. Give it to the answer is that they weren't right for the Matan Torah. We were the only ones that were right. But it was I believe that there's no joke. This is if there's humor in the Talmud, this is not it. This is a very serious. Huh? I can't hear you.
What made us more low is
That there was no sinus chinim. They were saying, what does it say in there? Don't kill, but we want to kill. Don't commit adultery, we want to commit adultery. What is all that? That's hurting your fellow man. So what do you have a kasher with Torah? The fact that we got the Torah, I think the whole Torah, the whole Shavuos, is surprise. We went, Moshe Rabbeinu said, I'm going to take you out of slavery. I'm going to take you out of Mitzrayim. We're going to walk in the desert. We're going to go to Eretz Yisrael.
There was no sin. I just can't believe. I'm sorry. Danica Suska, I saw that. I don't have time to understand. But there was no sin in the
So just read you the Medrash.
The only
Like
nation,
Hebrew, Lashon, Hara.
the only nation in the world didn't have us knowing ourselves.
Yeah.
The only nation who.
Like Hebrew, Lashon, Hara, because of the oppression, because of our Shlusavos, because of... hard to believe, right? We were, you see, it's all connected. Just connect the dots. The Ki'ish Echad B'Leiv Echad wasn't this isolated thing that we're all Ba'achdus and Har Sinai. The Ki'ish Echad B'Leiv Echad came back from Mitzrayim still. Because in Mitzrayim, La Yilshinu Zel Zeh. So when HaKadosh Baruch Hu went to the Torah, I'm looking for a nation which is Echad to give them the Torah. It was almost separate from the story of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Is it possible in our minds to separate the two things? It's so pashut to us that we're the Jews, we're the Bnei Avos, and we got the Torah. And we're Eretz Yisrael. I'm just asking you, so find me someplace in Bereshit, a word about the Torah. Find me someplace in Shavuos.
The Avos had Torah, though. The Avos already had.
As Yaakov Olam, all tzaddikim, so did
Yeah, but Yaakov Avinu was dafka Torah. It wasn't he like a whole, like he learned Torah. It was like, it's just that.
You're yeshivish, you know.
Right.
He learned the same thing that Adam Arishan learned. He learned the same thing that Shem Aver learned, exactly that. It was all the Torah. Tanya the Messiah. It's exactly the right. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be Jewish to get the Torah. Shem Aver, they were Jewish, per se. In other words, like there's not a word about getting the Torah until we got to Har Sinai. And then it became part of it. There was even the Memtes Shari Tumah that we went down, and the Memtes Shari Tara that we went up. Torah, Bad Doch Har Shvei, like it doesn't come up. The reason why we got the Torah, the reason therefore we became the Or Lo Amim, and is because of the V'yichan Yisrael Naged Har. When we came to this mountain, we were all Echad. And that's why we got the Torah. And now we became the Baalei HaTorah. So you know, just an example, I'm just saying it as an example. One of the great, brilliant chidushim of Rav Soloveitchik Olav Shalom was that, I can't speak as a Talmud, I'm not a Talmud, wish I was, but I'm not, is that there's a bris Torah and a bris Avos. This was one of his most brilliant, profound chidushim, that he said in his drasha that there's two different brisais and not to be confused. There's, for instance, when a person is Megayer, so I'm accepting Geirus on myself, right? I'm accepting myself to be a Jew. Doesn't mean I'm accepting myself to be a Jew. Two things, not one. What does it mean to be a Jew? There's I now became not Ben, Arthur, Max, George, or John the Fourth. Now I became Ben Avram. So I've accepted upon myself to be part of the Abrahamic family. Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and I'm part of that. I'm part of that. Ben Avram. Avram, Ben Avram. Right? That's one thing. So I'm a Jew. I'm a Jew. And then there's another thing of Bris Torah. I'm accepting upon myself Taryag mitzvos. I'm going to do all the mitzvahs. Seder, right? Ha b'loi ha, you don't have a gerus. But there's two different, and as Rav Soloveitchik pointed out, there's two different, this comes up, by the way, every Siman and Shulchan Aruch you go to, but I'm just giving an example of gerus. That when a person's makabel Yiddishkeit upon themselves, there's two parts to it. It's not all one thing. It's not all one piece. There's this that we were, the B'nai Avos, we went to Mitzrayim, Yitzias Mitzrayim, and we went into Eretz Yisrael. And then there's the mountain in between, the hump in between, where we're Makabel HaTorah. Two things now it means to be a Jew.
So when everyone was Megaya people, it was only Megaya on Yiddishkeit?
For sure, on Yiddishkeit, not Torah. We don't find they're doing mitzvahs, not putting on tefillin. In fact, they don't even need the Torah. Like all of the Torahs that they said, Yeshiva Torah, that they say, like Kiyibas HaTorah, actually didn't feel like Tafshilut. We said pshat that he's also through Tzaddik. It's not the pshat that there was some magical way of teaching the Torah before there was a chumash, before there was an abaya for Rav. It was a different zach. It was Yiddishkeit. It had to do with probably closer to the Shabbat mitzvahs, but I know probably had to do more with. I'm just saying simple pshat. More to do with Shem Mitzvahs Noach, that we recognize that Hashem created the world. We recognize that there's one Hashem. We recognize that we shouldn't be robbing each other, stealing from each other. We recognize that there should be some din. The Shem Mitzvahs Noach. What's the Shem Mitzvahs Noach? Anybody know? Aleph Beis Gimel Daled. Avery Menachai. It's gross, right? Birchas Hashem. Don't curse Hashem. Gazel. Don't steal from each other. What do they say? Everything I need to know, I learned in kindergarten. What's the Daled? Dinim. And then the three big ones. Seder basic, that's what it meant. Avram Megayer was like, that's what it meant. So that's the bris avos. Then there's the bris Torah. This is where Rav Soloveitchik became controversial. He said, look, if somebody had a conservative gerus, so a gabla halacha, it's not kosher, but it's hard to say. It could be that he was makabel the bris avos and not makabel the bris Torah. Okay, that's controversial.
Where's bris avos?
He's not saying he's Jewish. That's saying he's Jewish, but so there's basically three parts. That you or a few parts to gerus, but you do a bris milah if you're a male. What is that? Bris Yisrael, bris avos. On Kabbalah, so you go into the mikveh. What's that? That's you're getting rid of the Hilulei Beis Avia.
So it just happened to be also a mitzvah to the bris. Isn't what you
No,
say?
so a bris is more than it's bris. Bris. It's bris avos. Bris
Which
milah.
happens also to be mitzvah.
Avram
in the Torah.
Avinu.
Which happens to be also mitzvah in the Torah.
The Seder happens to be a mitzvah Torah. Seder. Like Toivel in the mikveh has to be.
It fits into the dayin.
Ilu. Well, so, but there's pages and pages in every Haggadah you read. Like, what would have been? Like, nothing on the Torah. What's the point? The answer is there's a point. The point is we would have been Jews. We would have all been Reconstructionists. We would have been Jews without Torah. We would have gotten Eretz Yisrael. We would have been the chosen people. We would have done the Tikkun Chet of Adam Arishon. We would have brought Mashiach. What's this? Like, what's so bad? I'm not diminishing Torah. That God, Baruch Shenasa Lanu Esatera. Baruch Shenasa Lanu Esatera. He gave us another gift called the Torah. Even Shabbos, Chazal say that Moshe Rabbeinu was promoting Shabbos in Mitzrayim. Even Shabbos, there are basic parts of the Torah which are basic to the Bria. But the Torah on a golden platter, as we received it, that was a special gift, a special bris, and it was a new bris. What's important is it wasn't just something, like we got a book of rules now. It was a bris. A bris means a covenant. A covenant means a new deal with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, upgraded to business class, that now we're not just Jews. That's not the arrangement, the covenant that we have, that we could sit over here. You could sit up in front because you have a bris Torah now. A bris Torah now, you have a new job, Klal Yisrael, of teaching the world about the very, very deep and sophisticated level of Torah, really making the Malchus Hashem.
That's why we sometimes say you're B'nai Yisrael, or you can say you're a Ben Torah. These are different qualities that we have.
It's a different thing. It's a different thing. It doesn't, by the way, it doesn't diminish my understanding of Torah. It enhances it. What I'm saying is, it's not. I'm not saying it's an add-on. I'm saying it's a special. It's a special piece over there, the Torah, and I think that's what the bris. Now, in order to be a ger, halacha l'vais, in order to be a ger, now that we Jews do this, you have bris Torah and bris avos and get rid of the avodah zarah. So you need the bris milah, but you need the bris milah and you need the tefillah.
Could be another reason why we have two Torahs by Hashem.
Two.
Torahs, we have two Torahs. Hashem. Now it's Hashem. There's another reason. We have two bris in there.
That I would have to make up. So let's understand then, Ba'or Zeh, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu went around to the nations of the world wasn't a game. He went around to the nations of the world to see who should get the Torah, for real. Who should get the Torah? Everywhere he's going, it's everywhere he's going, he's seeing hate. In one form or another, he's seeing hate. We steal, we kill, we take each other's wives. It's all hate, all undermining another person. He comes to Klal Yisrael and he sees this situation by the mountain of Vayichen Yisrael Neged Ahar, not to get the Torah, that was just their matzah. The matzah of Klal Yisrael was Vayichen Yisrael Neged Ahar. These are my guys. This nomadic tribe in the Midbar, that he's busy with some other operation of taking them, Operation Moses here, of taking them from Mitzrayim into Eretz Yisrael. You know what? I'm going to give them the Torah. I'm going to give them the Torah. They're going to have the Torah. They're going to have the Aron HaBris, they're going to walk, and they're going to have miracles with the Aron Kodesh. Mashalo Yisupar v'lo Ya'abdu. Nobody, it wasn't oil on anybody's lave. Nobody's lave in Mitzrayim. Maybe Moshe Rabbeinu, that we're going to be walking through the Midbar with an Aron Kodesh, and we're going to be coming into Eretz Yisrael with an Aron Kodesh. I don't think anybody thought of it. That's what I think. I don't think anybody thought about it, except maybe Moshe. Baruch HaKodesh. Not even sure.
Hashem would have given the Torah to the other nations to the exclusion of Israel, or he could have given it to everyone.
I think giving it to the nations means giving it to everybody. In other words, it's like, I don't know if it's the same thing, I'm afraid to say, but it's like the machlekes Avram Avinu and Sarah. Avram Avinu said, the story Hashem said to Avram Avinu, like, you're going to have a son, Yitzchak, you're going to have a son. And what does Avram Avinu say? I'm 100 years old, like actually. Son now, like I have a Yishmael, good, I'll speak. Sarah wants to throw Hagar and Yishmael out of the house, and Avram Avinu's coming. What does Avram Avinu want? He's holding that Yishmael is the man. It's clear. He's holding Yishmael as the man. He's a para adam. It's geshmak. Para adam means pre. He's sprouting. He's out there. He's he's like a whole Yishmael is like a Lubavitcher, like he's out there, he's out there and he's talking and everybody knows about the lighting menorahs in the street, and and Sarah says, no, like Yitzchak, Yitzchak, Yaakov sitting in the Ohel, they're sitting in the tent, they're quiet, like it's a whole different idea. What did Yitzchak see in Esav? Let's get it out there. That's what he saw in Esav. He saw in Esav the same thing Avram Avinu saw in Yishmael. It's borrowly that by the Akedah, Hashem said to Avram Avinu, Kachas Bincha, which son? As Yechidcha, they're all Yechidim to me. Asher Ahavta, I love them all. That's Yitzchak, okay, Yitzchak. It was not at all clear until he named his name to Avram Avinu where this Akedah, where the future, where the bris, where the bracha should come from. This is an important thing. Why? Because the real question between Avraham and Sarah, and for that was God's question, was should the Torah be transmitted, or should Yiddishkeit be transmitted to everybody, or should it be transmitted only to a very narrow group, which then somehow or another will be misakin for everybody. So it was the same question again with the Mountain Torah. The Mountain Torah itself, that was with the Avos. Now you have the Bris Torah, you have the exact same question. Should I give it to Yishmael? Should I give it to Esav? It seems, if we're going to take Chazal seriously, it seems, I believe in this case, even though it's different than what everybody says, I think Abdul is taking Chazal seriously. If we're going to take Chazal seriously, it means that he had a preference to Esav and Yishmael over Klal Yisrael. L'chatchila, like Gibor Tzayid, they're out there. They're going to, but let's give them the Torah, except the one that they're all full of sinah. So if they're all full of sinah, where's the Malchus? There's no Malchus, there's no Shechina, there's no, what are we doing? So here we could have Hashras HaShechina. So the whole value, let me just say this in the last 30 seconds here, the real, when you come down to it, and this is ironic, the whole value of being part of the Jewish people is that we're be'echad, which we're not so good at. Always.
Korach, the Meraglim.
Yeah, well, I think that this is why we have, people, it's like they say, where do you want to know your real strength? Like, what's your real strength? I'm good at a lot of things, what's your real strength? So figure out, like, what you really don't want to do. Like, where's your real Yetzer Hara? Where's your real Nasayim? That's probably where your real strength lies. It's a deep... It's a deep thing that the Torah is magala to us. Our strength, in other words, when Hashem went to the Bnei Esav and he said, don't kill, he means to say that you have a Yetzer Hara for killing. This could be, mamash, your tachlis in the world, to teach the world not to kill. Look, we have a Yetzer Hara for killing, we're not killing. It's you can use your passion for tov. The reason why Klal Yisrael is always plagued with sinas chinam is because this is our greatest godless that we could have. Knows of Yichan Yisrael Neged Ahar, that we could be Echad Bahar Sinai. So, anything but that, says the Son. Anything but that. So we're plagued with pirud because our godless is an Echad. It's Hashem has the same problem. His whole godless is his echad, and everyone's dividing them into trinities and into dualists. It was dividing them up into pieces, cutting up HaKadosh Baruch Hu into pieces. It was echad. Like, nobody can stand the echad because that's the godless of Hashem. So whenever a person has a godless, people are trying to bring you down. So we're trying to, when you bring yourself down, I heard such a gewaldige thing. Just somebody told me that they can't make it to a meeting they had with me because they just joined it was just a couple days ago. So they just joined a 12-step group. So as a 12-step group, I don't want to be, you have a problem with alcohol, with drugs, with what's your anonymous over here? So it was 12 steps for people that are self-defeating in success. Here in Ramat Beit Shemesh, there's a 12-step group for people that every time they're about to make a lot of money, they sabotage. They sabotage it. Every time they're about to be successful in something, they sabotage it. Well, this is also an addiction. It's also an addiction that, like, to not be batzliach. A person has a gift, And not only does everybody bring us down for the gift, we bring ourselves down. Because when you have a gift, it means you have a certain obligation and a certain ischayvus to be great. And I don't know how much deep inside we want to be great. Just let me be anonymous and let me be small. I don't know how much we want to be great. You see, Moshe Rabbeinu came to this day. He says, I don't know, just let me be a shepherd in Midian. I'm not really ready to be the Goel Yisrael over here. Because Baruch Hu says, stop. Use your potential. So our potential is in the Achdus. Our potential is in the Echad. That's where the Torah is given in the Echad.